All right, Coach. It's been a crazy last couple of days. I know you went through something kind of similar your first year here, but have you really ever experienced anything like that as a coach?
No, it's pretty rare, you deal with injuries and illnesses all the time, but for it to hit you and to hit so many in our travel party in a short amount of time was definitely rare.
You know, I think on the broadcast last night they said 20 of 27 people in your traveling party were affected.
Yeah, I think it might have ended up being a couple of more. So I think there were only like five of us that were able to avoid it.
Were you
Uh,
one of the lucky few?
yeah, me, Kyle, Brennan, our video guy, and a couple of players. So maybe six.
uh, to the Utah match, whenever you saw just how bad, kind of how dire it was, I mean, you're down several starters plus some key players off the bench. Was there any thought of forfeiting the match and just kind of resting up?
Yeah, I mean, I think if Middles would have not been able to go, we would have talked about that. But just like from year one with the Texas issue, when we had to forfeit to them, it was more of a safety issue. We just didn't have enough people by position to put out there, and so um, up until really about 5 minutes before the game, I had a pretty good idea we could at least put something out there that would be competitive. And at least Lily was able to go. She was our only setter healthy. And then we had Jalen and Becca who were good and both middles. So what hurt us was we only had one ball control, one DS person healthy um, until Melanie was able to come back in. But it was tough without Alice and Sess or even Jalen Clark. None of them were available.
I know you like to, of course, have your full complement, your roster available to you, but do matches like that kind of get your coach juices flowing a little bit and just to see kind of how creative I can be with different rotations?
No, not really. I frustrated that we only play Utah and BYU once this year and not able to put a great product on the floor on the road because I keep preaching to them about the road wins are what are going to be our biggest challenges. We play pretty well at home. We only have a couple of the top teams in conference coming to Fort Worth. So if we want a shot of winning conference, we're going to have to win on the road. So Utah was the team I felt like we could beat full strength. And so it was a little more frustration and hey, we're going to just battle with who we got, not any creativity really at that point.
Do you think that, and of course, it doesn't matter in the black and white standings at the end of the year, but whenever it gets to the selection process, do you think the committee will take, these circumstances into account?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that was that bad of a loss that even matters.
Mhm.
I think maybe the coaches poll, anybody who watched the game or heard about it, they would probably not ding us for that loss, and just really reward Utah for the two wins that they got. But yeah, I mean, I think if we would have lost both matches, it could have been very frustrating. But being able to at least split up there was really the goal at the beginning of the year anyway.
Yeah. Uh, just one question about the Utah match. Michaela Young got her first taste of action this season. What did you like out of her?
Yeah, I mean, I think after the first half of the first set, she started settling in and just kind of relaxing. But she went from almost like a red shirt mentality to a hey, I'm here to help however I can to a I'm starting in 5 minutes. So it was a lot to ask for her, but yeah, I thought she did a great job. And then as a freshman, when you get your opportunity like that, like you just hey, this is big girl volleyball now. So what better way to get introduced than to a potentially ranked team?
Where I really thought she handled herself well was it really seemed Utah was kind of trying to pick on her, but she seemed to handle that kind of pressure pretty well.
Yeah, I mean they're a pretty good serving team, and so I was definitely worried about that, right? When you're three of your four best passers are not in the game, that's a challenge for every team in the country. Even if you just have one or two out. So yeah, I mean Becca had to pass a little bit. Michaela, she did well, and then Riley Weigelt, who hasn't been really in serve receive all year was able to settle down and handle her own as well.
Then you get out of that match, and it's kind of you get into Friday and trying to see, okay, how are we feeling here? From what I understand, y'all didn't practice on Friday.
Yeah, we just felt like we needed the rest and recovery. Like there wasn't anything that we were going to get out of practicing. So yeah, we just took off. Maybe did a walk in the morning with healthy people, and the ones who didn't feel good, just you know, just slept as much as they could during the day, and some got a little schoolwork done, and then we ended up sending a big chunk of them to IV center to try to get hydrated.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I think the broadcast said last night 15 players, which I think
I think
would
it
be
ended up
almost
being
here in
I think it ended up
16.
being, yeah, I think it ended up being 16. I think maybe 15, but a couple that hadn't gotten sick yet still went, I think, to just try to get hydrated again, because it just everybody felt pretty dehydrated up there anyway. And um but that was a couple of staff in there as well.
Yeah.
So a couple of the staff that were struggling went and got hydrated too.
And you're doing this, you're sick and you're at altitude. Does that play an effect? Does that kind of heighten it, or how did the altitude affect?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought was it was altitude sickness when we had like two or three, um, you know, jump in there, and get sick. But once it just started to get everybody, we knew it was some kind of virus that was going around. And yeah, I mean, the altitude affects everything, just the way they feel, the way they can breathe, and then just the dehydration piece was probably the biggest concern.
Now you get to Saturday. Did y'all do a serve and pass Saturday morning?
We did, and we had all but two or three were able to participate, but it was quick. I mean, it was like a 30-minute serve and pass. Gave them a few minutes for some to get extra reps if they wanted, and then some just went and crawled in a chair and just trying to recover. Um, and we had a couple get sick Saturday morning or Friday night in the middle of the night, so that was concerning. But one didn't play, and then the other one was Lex, our middle that she was able to tough it out. So
Yeah, you get into the match, and then so you've got your full complement. Would you even say they're at 50% heading into the match? 75%?
so yeah, I mean, probably a little more than that, right? Like a lot of them were starting to feel better, but just weak, I mean, just you lose a lot of fluids. Hardly any of them ate anything because they couldn't keep it down. So they were just really weak. So that was my biggest concern. And I told them after serve and pass to just like even as hard as it was to eat, like they just needed to like snack all day long to try to get as much fuel in them to because I knew none of them would eat pregame meal, so it was like if you don't just snack all day, you're going to be really low on the tank, when we play the match.
You'd have no fuel then, and your legs have to be like jello. I mean, just even heading into the match.
Yeah, I mean, probably the saving grace a little bit is that we only went three with Utah, so we didn't extend that out too much, and that probably helped us make it through since we ended up going, the distance with BYU.
It was that of course you're always wanting a quick win or win in general, but five five sets, that's a lot to ask.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's late, and they get a great crowd. I think they ended up having over 4,000. Saturday night, and like you already know, they just don't lose in Provo.
So that first set was that, you come out, you're kind of sluggish there in that first set. Is it just a case of, just trying to get your sea legs and kind of get that sweat going?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the like any sport, right? If you're not really touching balls and you're not feeling good, it's really hard to get into rhythm, especially when you have an offense like ours that we try to go fast. If anything's off, it just makes it really, really difficult. And just everything was off, you know. So we were struggling. Lily was struggling a little bit with location. We weren't passing well, so we weren't helping her. And then hitters were just kind of off in general, right?
Yeah. But you get into that second set and Melanie, just does Melanie things and kind of takes over that set for you. Could you just talk about her effort as, it seemed every time out, she's over there on the sidelines grimacing.
Yeah, so she was struggling a lot, and then she kind of tweaked her back again. Hopefully, knock on wood, it's not too bad, but that was really bugging her. And then she knew that she needed to be great for us to win, and she kind of had a little slow start that kind of frustrated her. So she kind of got that eye of the tiger, and really wanted to try to help us as much as she could because she is same as me. Like we could just sense that things were not going the right way. And so yeah, kudos to her for just figuring out how to manufacture some kills.
Is that what you see that's what the great athletes do all the time. You see it in other sports is they just kind of put the team on their back and will the thing forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the things she's trying to be better at. Because last year I think she struggled with that she didn't quite understand the preparation part to be a type of hitter that needs to carry a team. So I think this year she knows, and she wanted to be better than she was last year because last year she was hurt, and she used that more of an excuse of why she wasn't playing well rather than, hey, I just need to figure it out, you know. And so this year she welcomes the challenge, and she just knew in Provo that she needed to be better.
They're early in the match, in the first couple of sets, y'all's block really kept y'all in it and
Mhm.
helped y'all out. Is that you talked about the middles being healthy? Was that a key reason? Because I can't imagine it's got to be very difficult whenever you're feeling sick to go up there and try to get fingertips on balls.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, probably Lily, the setter, and the two middles have the hardest job when you're definitely not feeling well, and they just did a great job. We kind of had a game plan for BYU, and luckily we served well enough to get them out of system. So it just, the middles didn't have to f worry about speed against them. So yeah, for sure the blocking did help us tremendously, but two, like BYU rarely gets out blocked in a match, and we outblocked them by several, and I don't even think they had a block until the third set.
Yeah, I think they're leading the conference in blocks, if I'm not mistaken.
They usually do. They're a really well trained blocking team.
Um, that third set, I think were y'all down at one point? Was it 2023? And
We were
I
down definitely two or three late in the game for sure.
I feel like it was if I remember correctly, I want to say it was 2023, and then y'all rattle off, tie it, and then it goes to extra points. And I think y'all fought off two match points in that
One
set.
set points, one
Set
or
points.
set points. Yeah, yeah.
Just how proud were you of your team's effort there in that third set?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you go down if you go down 2-1, that's really, really hard on the road, especially not being 100%. So, for me, I don't really get frustrated with the team, but I had to kind of be like, you know, mad Jason, to try to snap them out of this like little fog that they, would get themselves in. And I just felt like I had to constantly remind them like how hard this match is going to be, and we got to fight for every point. So those last couple of timeouts that I took, and even during challenges, I was just on them about just reset, refocus, right? Get back out there and do your job. And yeah, we had a couple of big serves that helped us, and then I think they may have missed a serve or two that kind of helped us finish them off.
Now you talk about challenges and having the eye of the tiger. Was that one of the best challenge nights for you? It seemed you were on top of
Um,
everything.
no, actually, Baylor last year, I challenged like 5 or 6 times and won all of them. And last night, like um, I mean, the challenge I lost, I really won. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I I feel like my eyes are good and I trust the players, right? So I can tell if they're pretty adamant they saw it, and I feel like I saw it, then it's an easy challenge. And sometimes they say they see a touch or something, but I didn't see it. So then at that point, I flip the coin and decide if it's worth the challenge or not.
You see, like you got a lucky coin there in the pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't want to talk about the challenge that you lost, specifically, but what's the communication? I saw you were talking, you're having Jalen relay information between you and the head official. What are those conversations like?
When we have challenges or conflict, the head coaches normally talk to the down refs, and the court captain talks to the up ref. So when she gave me the answer for what she saw in the challenge, I can kind of talk to the up ref through the microphone that she has, but they were not understanding what I was talking about, and she was being a little like hard-headed about it. So Jalen couldn't understand what he was telling her. So we were just trying to communicate back and forth to make sure the up ref knew why I was still, arguing about the challenge because the answer did not make sense. And so I was just trying to make sure Jalen knew what I was talking about with the down ref to communicate with the up ref.
And then you get into the fourth set and things kind of they weren't going your way. And it really seemed like you sensed there towards the end of the set that they weren't. And it kind of allowed you to get some players off their feet for a couple of minutes.
Mhm.
Was that the case where you talk about, just that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, when a set gets away from you, especially if the fourth set, knowing you're going into the fifth set, you wanna let some of your players come out like a Melanie, and just reset on the bench. And it just kind of with the rotations we were in, I couldn't do it any earlier. But yeah, I just pulled her out because I also knew that there was a strong possibility I was going to put Evan in the fifth set anyway. So wanted to let her play a little bit, right, to get into the game without just throwing her out there cold.
I mean, you threw her out there kind of cold there at the end of the first or fourth set, and she immediately gets a kill.
Yeah, no, she did amazing. And you do that so you can kind of see where her mindset is and where her confidence is, and it just made it easy for me to be like, all right, we're going to make a switch because we got to do something different, and it helps. And she gives us more ball control in the game, which, in the fifth set she made a couple of great digs to get started. So yeah, I mean, I think she had 4 kills in just over a set, and she had some really good touches with her block front row, and then she passed, I think, almost perfect the few balls that she passed.
Yeah, I want to say she had 4 kills on only 6 swings. Talk about coming in and being efficient.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what we ask them to do, and I tell them, everybody all the time, like you just don't know when it's your time to shine, and you got to be ready.
Y'all really needed her there early in that fifth set. Y'all get down, it's I think 2-4, and then rattle off 4 quick points because I want to believe she was at the service line for 3 of those. Was she not?
Yeah, she served a couple of balls and then served one out, I think. So I think she had 3 serves there. Yeah, I mean, she just that's why you have depth. We're gonna go with what we think is gonna work, and that's gonna change sometimes match to match. And yeah, Evan had a great match to help us close it out.
And we were talking about challenges a little earlier. It seemed that I think BYU was using some of their challenges as timeouts. Does that
Yeah,
happen
I'm
a
sure.
lot? Does
Yeah,
that
I think so. Late in matches for sure, right? There's no reason to have a timeout, no reason to have a challenge in your pocket if you need to slow things down or just, with volleyball, right? Serving is a big part of the game. So if you can ice the server or just try to change their momentum a little bit, then yeah, you do what you got to do.
so? I want to ask during this match. Players are sick. Are there players getting sick during the match, like having to run to the locker room
That happened on Thursday.
on
A
Thursday?
lot. Yeah, like Michaela Young. I started in for Becca back row because Melanie had come back. So I started her. She was going to be our first server in set three, and she wasn't out there. And I'm like, "Where's Michaela?" And I look over, and she's leaning over the trash can at the end of the bench. And so she didn't play that set. And then we had a couple others that came in, and like Sess and Alice, like sometimes during the breaks they disappeared for a couple of minutes, and but that's just, you don't when we say tough, like it doesn't mean like unsafe or like do things that's like quote unquote physically tough, but we want to be mentally tough. We want to be tough for our teammates, and we want to be tough for the brand and our program. And this was a situation where it really asked a lot of people, a lot of players to be tough, and I thought they stepped up to the challenge pretty well.
Do you think, circumstances like this, showing that kind of toughness, that kind of mental toughness, will serve your team? Was that kind of a valuable lesson as they
Oh,
go through the
yeah,
season?
100%, 100%. It's going to give them the confidence that they can deal with adversity easier moving forward, right? Like, other things are just not going to feel as big of a deal, like having to go through this. And then in the future for the young ones, the returners, they're just going to be like, man, it's not as bad as Utah, like, and so it will help with the gratitude. It'll help with, yeah, that proverbial, mental toughness that we all want, but they got a real life, dose of it this week.
Yeah, you talk about, mentally tough just going through it on Thursday against Utah, but then the toughness to respond, even though you're still not feeling well, and get a win at BYU. Can you just talk about how hard it is, even when healthy, to get a win at BYU?
Yeah, I mean, people don't win in Provo, right? Like, I mean, just for the last 10 years, they've been very dominant. They've been in I think they've been ranked for a big chunk of that time, if not that whole time. Um, so this is a younger BYU team, so they're kind of working on some stuff, but their atmosphere is amazing. And the people there, right? The people in Utah are just awesome. And it was a great environment to play in. But yeah, just from the men's and the women's side, like the men are really, really good too. And you might know the stats. I think they told me like she's only lost 10 matches in 10 years or something like that,
Yeah.
and now 11. That's truly amazing to only lose one match on average at home with the schedule that they play, right? That's equal or better than going down to Austin and winning in Gregory.
Yeah. BYU known for being gracious hosts. How are they helping you out, as y'all are going through this kind of, tough predicament?
Yeah, I mean, Heather, the head coach, she checked in, just to make sure we had everything we need. And I think the trainers were talking with each other. But by the time we got there, we didn't practice, um, we were low maintenance, really. It was
Hmm.
just like, hey, we just had players in the locker room just trying to trying to feel as good as they can to decide whether they can make it out to the match or not.
What was the post-match conversation like with, did you talk to Heather at all? Did y'all meet at center court? Have a
Yeah, she
brief?
was not happy, so it was just a quick little, hey, hope you get better. Good luck the rest of the season kind of deal, and Kyle and I know that staff too, and they were, they're super cool people. They know what they're doing, but
Yeah,
yeah, they weren't real thrilled after the match.
can't imagine. They probably feel like they let one get away.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
can you talk about probably the all-star of the weekend and your trainer, Jordan Tucker, what all the hoops she had to jump through and, being down there is almost like a wartime medic.
Yeah, no, for sure. Jordan's awesome, right? And trainers, the athletic trainers, are the unsung heroes, and they don't get any really gratitude besides just us inside the program. But yeah, the girls. Anytime we circle up and we talk about like who are we grateful for, like over half the team say Jordan because she's there to keep them together and keep them out on the court. And yeah, she was great. She was trying to figure things out, but she got hit with it pretty hard on Thursday. So she was okay Wednesday when we got there, but Thursday when a good chunk of them were really in bad shape, she's getting texts and calls in the middle of the night, and she's having to go check on them. And then when she's feeling terrible, right? And then China or Dovo got it too, or like right before the match. So she it was a struggle because when we were doing pregame warm up, I'd look down and Jordan just like looked like she wanted to just sleep on the bench, and but she toughed it out, and she was very selfless and making sure the girls were top of mind. And not having her, we probably don't have as good of a weekend.
Yeah, I know. I think I took a screenshot of the match last night. It was of Melanie. They had her 158th on the board, and behind her was Ash. And poor Ash, she looked like death. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna.
Well, to put it in perspective, Ash was feeling really bad, but the way Ash looked was about half of what most of them look the day or two
Oh,
before. Like they looked terrible. And luckily it just seemed to be kind of this 24-hour, maybe 36-hour, virus we assume. Um, so that was the nice thing because if it would have been flu like year one when we had to forfeit to Texas, that was like a 2 to 6 day, 2 to 7 day issue there. So yeah, if we wouldn't have had this little 24-hour virus, I don't know if we would have played either match because they 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 couldn't move. Their head hurt. They were in the bathroom most of the time, right? And then a lot of them it hit them overnight. So they were getting up in the middle of the night having to deal with it and not getting any sleep. So that was, yeah, to beat BYU was really, I use the word loosely, but rewarding in the sense of they were sleep deprived, they were dehydrated, they were basically not fueled. Most of them didn't eat anything. Um, and when you watch the match, like we go 5 sets in overtime, and it didn't look like we were running out of gas. Like everybody was still trucking along.
is that one of your favorite wins as a coach?
Yeah, I mean that's a good one because obviously beating Baylor is big because of just how good they are and the connection there. But yeah, I mean, the only thing better probably of this would have been beating Texas last year, just because you're not going to get a ton of chances to beat BYU in Provo. And if history, repeats itself, like you're just not going to win many there. So I'd like to change that, but we felt like we let them slip by us last year. We were kind of hitting our stretch of injuries and not playing well last year, and we kind of wish we got that one back. So yeah, very very nice redemption, being able to beat them on their home court.
Yeah, just hearing you talk, it sounds like you went from having a bunch of dragons to it was almost like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Just
It was like no, it was like we had instead of adult dragons, it was like baby dragons. And instead of spitting fire, they were spitting up other stuff, you know.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, the resilience was awesome, and none of them felt sorry for themselves. They just felt
Yeah.
crappy, and everybody was trying to help. And, Ash there, I told her she didn't have to come out on the bench, she could just stay in the locker room, but she wanted to be out there to help the best she could. And that just kind of shows a lot about the character of this year's team.
Kind of not only shows the character, but kind of the chemistry of this team, the
Yeah, for sure.
togetherness, all for
Yeah.
one kind of mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask the players, they'd all say they love this team and the chemistry is good. It's the culture we're trying to build. I'm all about family. I want us to feel like family because I feel like when times get tough, like it did this week, you will do anything to fight for your family, right? But if you don't feel like that and you don't have that culture, then people will hide or disappear or not fight the way we need them to. So yeah, I was very proud of the fight. And then just them figuring out a way, right? It's just really hard, like you said, to beat BYU in Provo, but just to beat all Big 12 teams when you're not 100%. And for us to be well below 100% and in a hostile environment, yeah, it definitely could chalk up as a signature win.
Well, Coach, I'd say that's a signature win too, for what it's worth on my end. I know I
Mhm.
was excited. I want to thank you for your time tonight.
Yep, anytime.